Welcome back to the Vault Podcast. This is episode 13. Today we're joined with Dimitri from Bounty Block. How are you doing today, Dimitri?
I'm doing great. How about you guys?
Not too
Pretty
bad.
good, pretty
Not
good.
too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where are you based out of?
We're based in Montreal, in Canada. Our company is
Nice.
out here. We have an office here. I'm actually born and raised in Montreal. Some of the guys are in Toronto, or they just move around. But our core office is in Montreal.
Oh, nice. I've actually never been to Montreal. Messiah, have you?
I haven't been to Montreal, but I've been to Canada twice. Actually, first time going to Canada was on a cruise. I was maybe about 16 years old. I don't know why my parents would want to cruise from New York to Canada, but they did. But I had a nice experience with Canada. Actually, I met some pretty cool people from Montreal here in New York. But that's another story for another day. It was a crazy party night. But ever since then, I had a good idea about people from Montreal. So yeah, that's nice.
Awesome, man. Well, Dimitri, I do appreciate you jumping on the show with us today. Curious. I mean, what are you doing in the Web3 space? Because I feel like everybody's got like a weird story about how they got involved. How did you get involved?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the way it all started, we were a dev shop, right? I'm a coder. My partner's a coder. We've been coding for a long time, and at the time, we did a lot of web apps for like fintech and educational stuff, right? And there was a lot of our customers always wanted the same thing. They always wanted to find ways. How do we get our users to do more stuff on the website? And like gamification, right? How do we encourage them to go and click that button, or sign up here, perform a task? And and we built APIs and we did all that stuff. And then when blockchain came along, back in 2019, we got involved with EOS, and there was such a nice use case with blockchain technology at the time, and gamification, because now all of a sudden on the website you can ask the users to perform certain tasks, and then on the ledger you have an audit trail, a way to prove that they completed each step of the way in order to complete the entire task or challenge, right? So it was such a nice use case. So that's how we got started. We got involved on EOS.
Here, what is EOS?
EOS. It's a blockchain. It was launched, I think, in 2018. I think it was one of the first proof of stake blockchains at the time, and it was very interesting to us because they allowed you to write smart contracts in a popular language like C++. And our background is C++, the programming language, and it was a very easy way to entry to blockchain technology as programmers. So right from the start, we got involved. Right, we just had to find get used to the how things work. But when it was time to write some code, the learning curve wasn't that large for us, right? So that was our entry point into the space.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
So
I think that's pretty interesting because usually, well, thus far on this podcast, we find people their intro into like Web3 is always from an investment or collector standpoint. But to have someone that got into like blockchain and Web3 from a developer standpoint, I think that's pretty interesting. And also, this is the first time I'm hearing of EOS, especially to have the coding language in C++. I can imagine that must have been fun. So what year was this exactly? Was this 2018?
Yeah, so they went live in 2018, that summer. We only got involved in the beginning of 2019. Yeah.
Okay. And in the beginning, you were just like, I guess, doing development for clients before, I guess, standing up Bounty Block, something of your own?
Yeah, exactly. So the way it started was I just got involved with the technology in terms of like how me and my team. Let's analyze how does it work, right? How do you set up a node? The transaction, when you create a transaction, where does it go? Who signs it, right? How do I store data? Uh, you know, And then from there, once we understood how it works, we were trying to think, okay, how do we build business cases? Like, how do we, based on what we know from existing customers in the Web2 world, how do we leverage this technology, right? And we came up with Bonnie Block, in the second quarter of 2019. And at the time, Bonnie Block, pre-NFT era, it was an API, and it allowed any web app to go and sign up to our website like a SaaS, right? And go to our portal and create these challenges, right? Like, for example, let's say you're a fintech website, right? And you want your users to buy and sell, and stocks, options, mutual funds, all that stuff. You go to our website, and we actually had a customer from day one who to this day are using it, and they went there and they go and create a challenge, and they'll say like, I want my users to buy 10 tech stocks, sell 3 food stocks, right? Complete a quiz on what are options, and then maybe watch a video on mutual funds.
Huh.
Wow.
I was gonna say, like, so you're pretty much like gamifying like tasks inside of a platform.
Yeah, it was literally a self-serve platform for projects to go in there. So instead of them writing their own code to track in their own website, who's doing what, and who's completing which tasks, and tracking everything, we just, our gamification engine will handle that for you. Let users do what, perform these tasks. And then when our engine detects, oh, this user did this task, and then they're done, we'll notify you. So you don't have to worry about maintaining or knowing or having to track who's doing what. We'll just notify you, and then we'll give you the report. Everything's checked on chain. So it was a very nice use case from because we come from that world, the Web2 world. We were able to connect the dots and see how can the real businesses leverage blockchain, right? So it was an early use case for us, and it was to this day we have I think one of our customers, stocktrack.com. They're the biggest stock simulator, at least in the US, and it's, to give you an idea, it's they have a lot of universities and professors that they go to that website and create assignments for their students, for universities, and basically students every semester now they go to class, and then the professor tells, hey, go complete these financial tasks, and it's all powered by our engine behind the scenes. They don't know about Bonnie Block. We're behind the scenes. We're just a tool, but it's nice to see that it's being used to this day. Yeah.
Wow. That's great, because you guys have many use cases. It's not just mutually exclusive to crypto and like NFTs.
So from there, when 2020 came about, so we got involved with Wax. Wax is another blockchain using similar technology as EOS, meaning like it's smart contracts are in C++. So for us to go from EOS to Wax, there was no learning curve there. It was the same tech. It's like a fork of EOS in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing with Wax, they had a very nice NFT spec at the time in 2020, and this is like before it became mainstream, right? NFTs, and we got involved with the Wax community. There was these projects on Wax that launched, like Street Fighter, Atari at the time, Garbage Pail Kids, and we started building tools based on what these projects wanted, right?
I'm curious. I do have a question, and this I think this may sound almost like a personal question, but I'm very curious about this. Like, what industry do you see more engagement on? Like, say, like on the back end, being that like people are using your APIs and plugging it into their website. Is it crypto projects that are launching coins, or like NFT projects?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say to you, it's a combination. I would say right now, like in the recent, let's say, years, or relatively the last recent window, it's NFT projects, NFT communities. Whether they're PFP projects or whether they are games. We have a lot of games that use our tools. Games meaning that they're building a game, right? So they'll do an initial pack sale. This is like about a year ago, 2 years ago, right? They'll say something like, these are our upcoming packs. this is our story. This is what we'll do with the funds, and everyone has that story, right? But we're building a game, and they want to build a community. They want to grow their Discord, their Twitter. It's crucial, right? So with our tools, they're able to engage those communities and get their users to spread awareness about the product, the brand, their IP, all that stuff. And I have to say, it's been mostly like these NFT projects, whether they're PFP communities or games.
Nice. Parker, does that surprise you?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, I was pretty big into like shit coins and stuff like end of 2020 and like early 2021, and I didn't get into NFTs until mid 2021. And I just saw I think what the big like game changer was, and like where I noticed it was just like what was on my Twitter feed. It went from just like Safe Moon, Shiba Inu, and like all this other bull crap, and immediately all I'm seeing is it's actually pretty hard for me to find a new crypto coin that people are talking about because the only thing I see are NFT projects. But it just seems like there's just like such a sea of bullshit out there. It's kind of hard to tell what's a good project and what's just kind of bull crap because all the art kind of looks the same. I've seen a lot of projects that have amazing 3D art and like animations to go along with it as marketing collateral, but then it just ends up being like a complete rug pull and it doesn't turn into anything. Actually, I'm kind of curious. Like, I mean, I'm sure you have a lot of people that Dimitri. I'm sure you have a lot of people that reach out to you that want to work with you and use your services. How do you kind of tell which ones are the real ones and which ones aren't?
Yeah, that's a good question. So our tools, and we can revisit this maybe later, but they're free to use. They have been free to use. So we have a whitelist process, meaning like you have to apply to have access to the tools because you can't just go on our website and start distributing millions of NFTs to random wallets and then spam the network, right? So we have this kind of very basic whitelist approach. It's a type form, bunch of questions. We just want to have an idea what it is you're building. What is your collection up on a marketplace so we can see it. Make sure there's nothing offensive there, right? Or get a sense. And to be honest with you, it's been quite rare where we actually had to say no to projects. For some reason, a lot of projects. I don't know if it's psychology, but they won't even reach out to us if they're BS. I don't know why. It's as if like we have this kind of like some certain level of reputation where they'll know and they just don't bother. So we don't actually come across a lot of like bad projects. It's weird to say. So a lot of the application, and we get them daily, right? Like I got a few earlier. We get requests all the time, and because we're on multiple chains now, and it's like, that's a cool project. We'll get things like where they have nothing, they just want to find out more, and we'll just explain to them, what's involved. But I haven't seen anything bad from our POV, in the last few years.
Oh,
maybe it's the application process. Maybe that is what like deters people, right? Where it's like, if I have to submit this application to use these tools, maybe they'll be able to find out like I'm full of shit. So on to the next thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they have to go through? Sorry to cut you off. Do you have to go when people are like signing up, try to use your service and go through the application process? Do the founders have to be doxxed?
No docs, no KYC. I mean, all we ask is what is your project about? Which chain you're interested in? Do you have a website? Do you have a collection URL so we can see? I think that's about it. Honestly, like there's not much else to it. We just want to have some minimal info so we can take a look, and we'll know right away, right? If it's a good enough, like it's good enough to have access to our tools, right? So yeah.
Wow,
that's actually
that's kind of cool. Yeah. I want to know something. When you said like the no docs approach, and I'm just fishing here, but I feel like maybe you're gonna answer this question like in a way that I would. But is it because of like your belief in the blockchain, like that form of transparency, like that is enough, right? Or like is that the position on like you don't have to be doxxed to use our tools because we're utilizing the blockchain and it's like a trustless environment and that's enough?
that's a really good question, honestly. And we thought about this a lot. At the end of the day, if we have no reason to know your info, uh, why should we ask for it? Like if we don't need that info for anything, why should we ask for it? And for us, especially because of blockchain and our tools are global, we don't want to store any data in our database that we don't need to store, right? And we're trying to be as lean as possible. So if I don't need something, I won't ask for it, and it's just a matter of being super lean about it. uh, and going back to your point, it is true, right? Like our customer, like if I start asking for like a lot of information, like your city or I don't know, whatever, we're gonna lose projects. They might just not sign up because of that. And what's our win here? We know more about you, but we'll lose others. So we don't ask for things we don't need.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that actually makes a lot of sense. And like earlier you mentioned that you have like a bunch of like gaming like NFT companies or projects that you're working with. Like what's when you say games? Because I see like gaming can mean a lot of different things in the NFT space. Like when you take like Wolf Game or whatever that project was called, it was just kind of like an NFT staking thing that made it look like it was a game. And then there's another game that we had on the show a couple months ago, Planet X, which was like a Fortnite kind of like battle royale first person shooter type of game, but there is like NFTs involved. What do you see are some of the companies that you're working with?
Yeah, good question. It's all around. Honestly, like we have projects where they're like it's a mining game. So there's a project called um, like Novo Pangea. They're it's like a 2D two-dimensional type game. And there's a lot of utility, a lot of things you can do in that game. It's very there's I don't want to talk too much about it because there's just so much of it. But like they have their own world and their own tokenomics and their own everything, and they have NFTs. Another game we're working closely with because like they have a very very interesting NFT utility, or I would say, maybe I'm not even sure what the right term is anymore, but basically it's like a Diablo type game where the blacksmith is owned in a village, is owned by there's an owner or a DAO owns it or a group of wallets own it, and you go there to buy stuff, repair stuff, and you use in-game currency, and they get to split it, right? And then they get to make money from it, and then at the same time there's a church to go get healed when you come back from your adventure. So it really, like, I see these kind of the way they leverage just NFT tech and just in general this Web3 technology. It's very shocking, and those are some of our customers that use our tools, and but it goes from, it can be from different. We have an artist. Okay, this artist, she's trying to get rid of plastic bottles in beaches. So that's a mission. So they what they did was they ran a campaign using our tools, and it's like, uh, go to the beach, collect bottles, take a picture that you're just there doing it, and then go back to our platform and claim your points, and you get ranked in the leaderboard, right? And at the end, top 5 will win some kind of NFT. So it's like, it's not a game; it's a real life event. They go there and they actually do something good in the world and encourages others to go and do it via in a gamification approach, right? So yeah, it's we have all
That's
over the
great.
place. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I actually really like that idea. I would love to go pick up the beach. I'm a big surfer, or at least I was before I moved to New York. God, I miss surfing. But
Yeah.
no, like cleaning up the beach, that's super cool. And I actually got a question for both of you. So we're starting to see like gaming stuff coming out of NFTs, and I feel I could be wrong, but I feel like NFTs just quite haven't gotten the like hasn't quite dug in their hooks into like real world use cases type like yet. Do you feel like it's gaming, or where do you feel like the future of NFTs really is going to be?
Good question. You want to take it first, Dimitri?
Yeah, sure. I think that is a good question. In my opinion, I feel like it's hard to answer because I'm a little bit biased because I'm a gamer. I play games. I watch streamers. I I've been watching streamers stream gaming streams for a while now. It's like I have a good sense of how they feel about this subject and just Web3 and all that stuff, And but even me as a gamer, I feel like there is so much potential and ideas and innovation that's gonna come, in the next couple of years with NFTs. And I don't even know if it's NFTs or it's gonna be NFTs with DeFi together, or some kind of it's very hard to say. But I feel like gaming for me is like the number one, just because that there's just so many end users that play video games. If you add them all up, right, and the money that they spend and all that stuff, um, DeFi is also a big one for sure.
Yeah.
It will depend, yeah.
Yeah, I guess for me, this may sound pretty shocking, but I think the future, Jesus, is as I'm thinking about my answer, I'm like, I can't believe I'm getting ready to say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I do think the future is going to rely heavily on Meta. I think what they're working on in terms of the metaverse and like the VR headset is going to help connect it like to the like broader audience and like mainstream, right? When people are thinking about the metaverse and NFTs and DeFi and all these things and how to actually use it in real world use cases, right? I think it's going to rely heavily on like what Meta does in the next, 2 to 3 to 5 years, right? If people can work with like VR headsets, but are rewarded from a company that's maybe using a tool like Bounty Block, right, to incentivize employees and stuff like that. And they're utilizing the blockchain, they're rewarding people with, say, a token or NFT, etc. But it's a real life use case, right? And it's like, hey, I'm just at work in the metaverse and I'm being rewarded via the blockchain and NFTs. I think that'll help it go like mainstream.
You're not wrong. Okay, honestly, like I think there's a big use case with productivity. Like how do you encourage employees to be a bit more performant? Like for example, we did some stuff with Asana at the time, and it was like things like complete three, I don't know, like UI UX tasks to I mean, I don't even know anymore. Like a technical writing task, and one CSS task by Friday, and you get to have pizza or something. I don't know, whatever, right? Or cinema tickets, and it's like you're encouraging users to like a bit more productive, And it's like I think now with NFTs and everything you said, I think there's a big potential, a lot of use cases, especially with Metaverse. You know, Apple's going to launch they're already working on their second version of their goggles, right? Their VR headset. I think there's a lot of things that are going to change. Add AI, which also is a big, booster for productivity. There's a lot of things that are gonna be, evolve in the next year or two or three. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Parker? You get in on this.
I mean, dude, like I hate to say it, but I do agree with you, Messiah. Just like don't want Zuckerberg to get his greedy little mitts all over the Web3 space. I think he'll ruin it, take the fun out of it. But I don't know, you guys are just talking about VR sets. Have you ever used one of those? Because I hate them. I don't know, like I think they're cool and they're fun. I played like some really fun games on them because my brother has one when I went back home to visit. But any more than like 10 minutes of having a VR set on, I get extremely sick. I get like motion sickness and I feel like throwing up. Do you guys get the same thing? Because I just don't. I can't see VR being in the workplace. Maybe that's just me.
I mean, I don't think they're there yet. The ones I've used, they're bulky. They're pretty like and I don't see it. Those versions. But I think it's going to change. I think it's going to evolve. I can't. For me, I feel like Apple is going to nail it. I mean, when it comes to product design, I mean they're like the king there, right? And I feel like they're going to probably pave the way there, and then you'll see probably Samsung and all those other guys, and even Sony or whoever, kind of maybe even Meta and their version. They're going to follow that kind of design.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it'll get
I'm
there.
really curious to like where it would go later down the road. What's Elon Musk's chip thing called again?
Neuralink? Is it
Neuralink,
Neuralink?
yeah,
Yeah.
Neuralink.
All
Um,
right.
yeah, I was thinking, I was like, I think that would be really cool if you could just kind of like sit in a chair, plug it in, and just like
It's the
be
Matrix.
real life Call of Duty. That
Yeah.
that would be pretty cool. Um, yeah, that's just me geeking out over gaming and sci-fi because I'm super into games too.
But Dimitri, I kind of want to shift it back to Bounty Block, and I think where I'm going, Parker, I think you're gonna like this because I do want to focus a little bit on the company. I think you guys have a unique value proposition, and I see the social proof on your website, right? Like, you guys have some great accomplishments thus far. I'm curious, what is the landscape like right now in terms of competition? Are you guys facing any competition, or are there any companies trying to do what you do? And if so, I would like to hear like how you approach it as the co-founder, like this competition, and like put your value proposition, in the front, right? Like how do you beat them out and like get more customers, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question. So I would say there are a few. Uh, one particular which I'm actually a fan of is Crew 3. They're very good at what they do, and they're constantly evolving. They're a big company, and Crew 3 is it's very interesting. But the difference with us and them is that Crew 3 is very Web3 centric, meaning like you go there and it's a Web3 web app, right? You can tell right away. Um, and for us, coming from the Web2 world, our tools, like our giveaway platform, it kind of looks like Gleam. I mean, nicer, but it has that kind of user experience where, like on Gleam, you go to your contest and you have all your tasks and your points and you complete each one, and we wanted to keep the user experience familiar. So like,
Mhm.
down the road, if a project wants to launch a Web3 style Gleam contest on Bounty Block, they don't want to educate their end users or show them how to get started, and no learning curve, right? So we wanted to keep it familiar to what the end users from the traditional world are used to. So the user experience, we tried to keep it similar, familiar. So those are some of the big differences, and kind of, yeah.
Okay, nice. And I know you mentioned their company's a bit bigger, but I'm curious, how big is the Bounty Block team?
We're a team of 8.
Okay,
I would
nice.
say like 7 out of 8 are tech.
Mhm.
Uh, Either we're programmers, we're infra. We're validators in a bunch of blockchains as well. So we have strong infra DevOps. We have coders. We have Mike, and Mike. The 8th out of 8 is Mike. He's like the designer, creative director. He does like anything graphical, anything UI that we need, colors, fonts, anything graphical. We go to him. Everyone else is mostly programmer or infrastructure engineers.
Wow, I'm just looking at the social proof on your website, right? 400 plus projects, 20 million API transactions, 30,000 NFTs gifted from a team of 8. I think that's a great accomplishment, right? Like you guys are doing a good
I
job.
appreciate that.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure like in that segment, Parker's gonna have like a few questions for you around what it's like, running this company, future plans, etc. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's probably one of the biggest things I wanted to ask is what's next. Like, where do you want to go with Bounty Block?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. So in my mind, okay, because the space right now, like we're on we're on EOS, Wax, Polygon, Hedera, Proton. There's a few other chains we're interested in, and I and the reason is, the space is so small right now. Like target market, is still very small. Like, so for us, the way we see it is we keep everything free. Everything's free. And that way we get maximum number of projects to use us, because if it's free they'll try it out, and in return we get so much feedback, we get ideas, suggestions, we bug fixes. Just a few days ago, the one project's community end user found a bug that we never caught, and we fixed it now. And it's like we get a lot of value, right, by being free. I think down the road, as the entire Web3 space grows, we can have like a freemium model. We have a lot of ideas there. I think, in my opinion, and from experience, especially when you're building a new app or a web app or a website or whatever, software product, it's very hard to get users to come to your website and use it. It's really hard. Like you build something, but how do you get users? And even if you do advertisement, like would they come back? Like do they want it? Is this something useful? That's the hardest thing. It is, right? And for us, we're so grateful because even though we're free, we have a lot of and by the way, the website is a bit outdated. We're actually at 800 projects right now, from games, artists, various brands, PFP. So we've actually grown fast in the last 12 months.
Okay. And like I'm in the tech space as well, but I'm a sales guy. That's my experience. Do you ever, once the space starts to get bigger and you want to start targeting more of an audience, do you plan on like putting together like a go-to-market strategy where instead of just going through word of mouth, you're actually doing like outbound prospecting strategies?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So I think when the space, and it's one of those things where when you'll know when the time is right. Like, to give an idea, uh, VCs have approached us, right? And if a VC today gives us, I don't know, let's say $5 million, right? We wouldn't know what to do with the money. To be honest with you, we actually don't know what to do with it, because after you pay your team and some development costs, you need money for marketing and going out there and promoting your product. But the market is still not that as big right now. It's growing actually a lot, but it's not there yet. So the time isn't right for us at the moment, right? I think when that time happens, and it's one of those things when you'll know when the time is right. We will probably maybe try to raise some monies, and if we need to, and try to go be a bit more aggressive and try to target the Web2 world, and get them more onboarded, if that makes sense.
But I am curious, and this is like what feels to me like another personal question. But I guess whenever, just hypothetically speaking, whenever you're at the stage where you feel like, hey, we want to raise some money, and you can kind of just give me your thoughts now. Would you want to go the VC way or like the decentralized way of like launching a bounty block token or coin, and just having it like crowdfunded by the community and completely decentralized?
That's a great question, honestly, and I, I don't know yet if I would launch a coin or not. But if we were to go that route, we would probably also go and get VC money, because the tricky part about having your own coin token, listing it, and like these exchanges, they want so much money to list, right? And there's a risk there. So and VCs, like VCs are very helpful for that alone, right? Like
Hmm.
so if we were to, if that makes sense, right? So if we were to list our own, I mean, if we were to create our own token and try to raise money there, we would probably also try to give some to VCs and get some
Yeah.
liquidity, allowing us to list to these exchanges. If we were to go that route, we really don't know right now what we're gonna do regarding that. I feel like for now we play it by day, and we try to be pragmatic about how we approach things. But that's a really good question. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that approach. It's very thoughtful because I've seen companies that are like very early in the beginning stages that are like offering a Web3 service and have like a DApp, and they have a token, right? In order to use their application or whatever, like you have to pay via their token or their coin. That isn't maybe like all the time listed in many exchanges. You just get it like say like from like a Uniswap or a Pancake Swap, etc., like a decentralized exchange.
Right.
Which brings me to my next question, and what I feel like is also another personal question. How do you, or if you have noticed any companies that have like a token or have raised money and you realize like, wait, they're still early, the space isn't that big, it makes no sense for them to have, X amount of millions of dollars. You as a co-founder, how do you feel about companies that go out and do that? Like, do you think it's good for the space or bad for the space?
Well, I think, and this is based on my opinion and what I've seen with my own eyes, last bull run, right? Everybody was making monies, right? And VCs were throwing a lot of money to projects, and now when everyone is building, there's no VC money, or it's very difficult to even get a grant. So I don't think it was great, to be honest with you. throwing out so much money, over evaluating projects, and that's what happened. And projects did fold. Where's the money? So I don't think I don't think it was because when you make a lot of money easily
Yeah.
through a crazy bull run, then you're giving it away kind of easily because you didn't earn it. It wasn't earned in such a hard way, right? So it's like, and then you're over evaluating things naturally because you're like, it's okay because I made this like that. So it kind of it's I don't think it's healthy, but I think it's one of those things where I don't know if you can ever solve it. It's like maybe like a bull run type behavior. I'm not even sure, but right now all I know is a lot of projects, good ones. Like I see these games that are bootstrapped and they look amazing. Literally, there's hundreds. Like there's a team that we're speaking with. They have 100 musicians and like an orchestra to make just the music and the audio, the music of the game, and it's beautiful. I'm listening to some of those. You feel like you're playing like Diablo or like those kind of triple A type quality. And they're all bootstrapped, and they're all like trying to raise some funds, minimal, just to try to. And they're having a hard time right now. So it didn't it's better to give a bit less money if they don't need those projects that they didn't need that much, and give it to the others that they can benefit from. So I'm not sure if that answers your questions, but I don't think it was the healthiest thing to do for the space.
Parker, what do you think about that?
No, I agree with you. I think there was. I think that's just like a bull run thing, like you said it before. Like I think during those times, like especially VCs, they just see the numbers and they just flock to it. So they just start throwing cash at whatever they think will stick. I mean, that's kind of like. I mean, I'm not a VC or anything, but it seems like that's kind of the model. They throw a bunch of money, and then 10% of it will stick, and usually they can make their money back on that 10% or whatever it may be. But I did have another topic. Like you said, like all these projects that did get floated a ton of VC money and were able to make a bunch of be really successful during the bull market. Do you see those players being still leading the pack like later down the road? Do you think like Bored Apes is going to be around for forever, or Doodles, or any of those guys?
That's a good question. These are good questions because they are questions that I also sometimes think about. And in my opinion, I think these type of top tier projects, let's say for the space, I think they have enough cash to try to get a next home run. And it's one of those things where they made their initial amount and they're still building. And what else are they going to do? So I feel like they will try to get the next home run and then the next home run, which will just keep going, right, as much as it can. So maybe they'll incubate projects, or maybe they'll invest in others, and they'll provide what they can and they'll help the space in a way, right? Whether it's directly or indirectly. So yeah.
Well, Dimitri, I'm really happy that we got you on the shows. I think it was a great conversation. I would love to do it again sometime. But I want to give you the last couple minutes to just talk about, address the audience. Where can they find you? What would be the best way to get in contact and all that kind of great stuff?
Yeah. So you can go to our website, bountyblog.io. It's very simple. You can request access. Tell us what you're building. We're very responsive. Within 24 hours, you'll have a response. From us, and we're very responsive. Especially my personal Twitter, even Telegram. I'm everywhere. I'm very very responsive to projects and inquiries. So reach out to us, and it's as simple as that.
Perfect. Nice. Bountyblock.io. We'll be there. Cool, man. Just hang out for.
Thanks so much for joining the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining the show, and we'll definitely do it again.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it, and thank you for the whole setup.